Are you wanting to become a YouTuber for fun or for profit? Then check out the amazing Blue Yeti microphone today. Affiliate link in the video description. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel, and a couple weeks ago there was a big brouhaha surrounding Wonder Woman and women-only screenings at the Alamo Drafthouse Cinema in Austin, Texas, Brooklyn, New York, and Denver, Colorado, and there might have been one or two more that I don't quite know about, but those are the three at first that they mentioned. Now, the screening in New York City was last night, and columnist Stephen Miller decided he wanted to go and check it out. Now, this dude was a guy I talked about a couple weeks ago about whether or not what the Draft House was doing was a civil rights violation, and he wanted to prove that. He wanted to, well, test a theory, I should say. So he bought a ticket, which caused a pretty big stir online, a stir that, you know, he may claim that he was trying to downplay a little bit. I don't think so. I think he was very much trying to like, you know, play it up for effect and whatever, and also maybe kind of hold the moral high ground, which is definitely an idea that he was championing through his entire article about it, basically saying like news outlets wanted to interview him about this. He said no. Milo Yiannopoulos wanted to attend the event with him. He said no. And that I actually agree with him on. I do agree with him on that one, because if Milo would have gone, it would have become like the dangerous faggot Wonder Woman screening, and it would have been something like that. Milo would have gone and made it about Milo, not about what it is, a civil rights discussion, whether or not Stephen Miller was going to be denied entrance to see this movie simply based upon his gender, and also the previous comments made by the Alamo Drafthouse Cinema as a whole. And that didn't happen. And so basically what happened was Stephen went to the theater, a screening early, saw a different movie, and then walked across the auditorium into the Wonder Woman show, sat down, presented his ticket when asked. The waitress took his order, you know, everything was fine. The movie started, he watched it, and hey, spoiler alert, he really, really, really liked it. The only real funny thing he commented on was the fact, and this is where you can clearly see that there's like a double standard in terms of how this would be covered if it was done in the reverse order. So he said that during the Justice League trailer, when Jason Momoa showed up as Aquaman and had no shirt on, many women in the audience were whistling, cheering, clapping, and basically going, "Hooga," you know, and frothing at the lips. And then in the movie, when Steve Trevor is there and he's almost naked, and it's this Chris Pine basically holding his junk, they were doing the same thing again. And I found that funny because you would never hear about that if there was a male-only screening of something. You know, you would never have that at all. Like if there was ever like the Ghost, was it not Ghost in the show, but like Under the Skin, Scarlett Johansson, where she gets naked in that movie. Like no one's going to be clapping and cheering in the audience. It's almost inappropriate, right? One might argue that, especially if men did it towards a celebrity, there would be like hundreds of blogs out there, sexism in the movie theater. You know, that's the angle they'd like to play. But women cheering and jeering at men on the screen, totally fine. I mean, I ultimately don't care, but it's just funny because there's a hypocrisy level there as well. But the point is that he went and saw the movie, was just fine, and Alamo never did anything about it, and they wouldn't have done anything about it. They actually would not have done anything. Had they done anything, he would have had them dead to rights on a civil rights violation lawsuit. He could have sued them for that, filed a federal complaint, and then had Attorney General Jeff Sessions look into it. I mean, Christ, Eric Gardner wanted people to call in about George Zimmerman with a 1-800 number to tip him off if he was racist at all. So then they could argue that he did violate Trayvon Martin's civil rights when he shot him in self-defense. I mean, that's how crazy the last administration took that shit. This administration, who knows what they might do. But the point I'm trying to get to here is that Alamo didn't do it. This whole thing was simply a publicity stunt. And I think deep down, we all knew that. Yes, I talked about this quite a bit. I think I did 3 videos on the subject. This is my 4th and final video on the subject until something else arises. And the reason why I covered it as much as I did is simply because this is a discussion worth having. Yes, it's unfortunate that it has to do with a movie, that it has to do with a fucking summer popcorn blockbuster movie, you know, Wonder Woman and shit. Warner's had no say in any of this. Warner's wasn't directly involved. Now, it's entirely possible Warner's like stepped in and called Alamo and was like, "The fuck are you doing? Back off this crap," because something around there gave them external pressure to stop. Something pushed them to stop doing it or stop promoting it. You go back to the page I looked at the page last night for the Alamo Drafthouse before the screening for the women only screening. It was scrubbed clean. It was gone. You can't find anything of it right now on their website. They made sure to cover their ass to the best of their ability and not deny anyone admittance to get in. And that is something that they were doing in order to protect themselves legally. Now, the thing is, it should never have gotten to this point. They should have never have done it. It was inappropriate for them to do as a gimmick, because all it does is it raises the question about what is or isn't allowed in terms of civil rights violations. And what really is interesting, and this is something Stephen pointed out in his article, was that when this thing was hitting peak maximum, controversy, and everyone was talking about it, no one on the left-leaning side of things, no one on those blogs, those websites, ever actually mentioned whether or not this was a legal thing to do, whether or not this was an okay thing to do. They all just said, totally fine. Even Philip DeFranco, who I very much like, was like, hey, it's no big deal. And it's like, you think it's no big deal, but it's still a civil rights violation and something you should actually champion against, because that is the kind of thing you do on your channel. So I thought his response to that was very interesting, because people don't ever try to associate movie theaters with segregation. Even though 50, 60 years ago, we had that. We absolutely had that, where you'd go to a movie theater and you would have whites only seating and colored only seating. And that's a thing. That's a real thing. That happened. And here's a movie theater chain, one that operates in more like, kind of cultural centers of cities, very much like the gentrified neighborhoods, trying to pull this shit. And none of their base audience is going to give a shit, because let's face it, most of them are people who are there to gentrify the neighborhood. And it's just funny that the rest of us out there that are looking at this like as being the problem that it is, were then made fun of for talking about it being a problem. It's so weird how the tables turn so fast on these sort of situations. But at the end of the day, this was just a stupid gimmick by Alamo. They got called out. The whole thing is, the only time it ever came up about there being the civil rights conversation from like the left-leaning blogs was when Jack Posobiec, the dumb shit douchebag who fucking made the dumb Star Wars hashtag, actually filed a civil rights complaint against the theater. They started mocking him as a result of this. But when Stephen Clark, a gay anti-discrimination law professor from Texas, actually filed another complaint against the theater chain in Austin, nobody said a word. And so you also have to kind of laugh at the fact that while they were both doing the same thing, and they're both technically right to do it, the one who was more of the nutbag conspiracy theorist, and I'm not even kidding you, this is a guy who went on InfoWars and said that Macron's wife was feeding him a mind-altering, like MK Ultra drugs, a la the Manchurian Candidate, in order to get him into power. That's the kind of, he's got White House press credentials, by the way. That's a whole other topic. But the point is, you've got that guy, everyone's mocking that guy. Then you've got the law professor, the anti-discrimination law professor, and everyone's like, oh shit. And it's entirely possible that's what prompted Alamo Drafthouse to back the fuck off. I got no idea. I know it wasn't Stephen Miller. Stephen was very much trying to play the game and see what he could get out of it, and go and just have a good time and see the movie. He wanted to play it as straight as humanly possible, as to not pollute or make his experience any more controversial than it was, so then things might be taken out of context, and then he would have a solid civil rights argument. The way it boils down to is this, and I said this in another video: you cannot ask for equality without giving it in return. It's a two-way street. That's how these things work. So I'm hoping that other theaters and theater goers that ever come across a situation like this ever again, stamp it the fuck down, because all it's going to do is bring up these questions again. And no matter how much doubling down you do through jokes and bullshit on social media, isn't going to change the fact that, in essence, the Alamo Drafthouse was ready to commit many, many, many civil rights violations for a gimmick. And it's unfortunate that people out there who claim themselves to be bastions of ethical goodness and talk about this stuff from a logical, rational perspective completely blew off this entire situation because it didn't fit into their overall narrative, or they just didn't care. And that's sad, because they should have stepped up and said something. I'm glad many people did, but there are other people out there with much larger platforms than me that had the opportunity to do so and just kind of hand-waved it away for whatever fucking purpose. Anyway, though, what do you guys think about this? Was this as big of a deal as maybe I'm making it out to be? Am I overreacting to this one? Is it not a civil rights violation? these are things I'm curious to know about. Let me know in the comments below. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day. And if you guys want to support the channel, you know, comment, subscribe, thumbs it up. PayPal, Patreon, Amazon affiliate link really does help out right now. And have yourself a good day, guys. Peace out.